Hello, I'm Sam from Just Obsessed. The focus of my channel is to share and educate on how to buy less, buy better. It's not necessarily about buying less things, about buying something that fits its purpose perfectly and serves you for as long as possible. Polo necked knitwear is something that I've only recently acquired, but it always seemed like a good idea to me in theory. My biggest question and concern was simply revolved around the practicality of wearing a piece of merino as a base layer here in Australia, and how many chances that I'd actually get to wear it. Melbourne especially has a very unusual climate. It's very extreme in the sense that we get 35 or 40 degrees one day through January, some of February, and then all of a sudden we hit April, and then every single morning is on, around, or below 10 degrees. So it's quite a big change in terms of the temperature. This means that I go from wearing a lot of linen, shorts, and lightweight things to all of a sudden needing multiple layers and quite thick knitwear. This doesn't really give much of a chance for a garment like this that suits more of the sort of moderate or temperate weather, somewhere in the mid to low 20s. Eventually though, I did find one that I liked, the Permanenty Style Dartmoor, particularly because he chose to use merino from a fairly undisputed king of fabrics, Loro Piana. So I've had this knit almost a year, and up until recently I'd probably worn it a handful of times, not a ton though. I find that sometimes when I'm getting something new, a new style, that it takes me a little while to warm up to how to wear it and what to combine it with, and that was the case with this garment. But then it was the other night, my wife and I were going out to dinner. The weather was a little bit weird. It was sort of low 20s, but sort of sunny and a little bit of cloud. Anyway, it was sort of the Goldilocks zone for me to feel comfortable in this, and I decided to try the knit out. Plus, it probably helps that I think my wife is a little bit sick of me wearing rugbies and OCBDs every single day, so this fills a somewhat similar purpose, maybe a little bit nicer, and it was a date night after all. It was after that night and a few subsequent wears that I started to figure this thing out, or at least I think I've started to figure it out a little bit. So let's get into the Dartmoor sweater by Permanenty Style. As I've said in previous Permanenty Style reviews, the product page for his products tend to be quite wordy, and they lack a ton of substantial specific details, which again I will say is a shame, because as a sort of journalist myself, I believe that transparency is the best way to sell a product. Anyway, this is what we know. The style is the Dartmoor sweater. The color is grey. It also comes in navy, olive, and black, and I think at one stage it may have come in a cream. They are made in Italy in a factory named Umbria Verde. The fit is described as moderately slim, and I decided to choose a large. The wool is Loro Piana merino wool, which is a slightly thicker yarn than the original Finest knitwear. So if you know what the original Finest knitwear was, then this is slightly thicker than that. It features, of course, mother of pearl buttons, a ribbed cuff, and a polo collar. All of this for £225, or around about 420 Australian dollars. The fit in a large is pretty good, but let me explain. As it's a knitwear, I wanted it to be worn mostly over things, but also because it's a polo, I wanted it to be worn without as well as with. As I'd heard that Permanenty Style's garments fitted really well if you're nice and tall and slim, I decided that a large was definitely the right call, as I'm neither tall nor particularly slim, and the fit to me is probably more like what I'd consider to be a regular medium, or even a slim medium, not a large. In saying that, the large does fit me really well. The arms are pretty slim, but they're comfortable, and the same can be said for the armholes, which even with a shirt underneath, there is plenty of room to be comfortable and move around nicely. The shoulders are sort of slim, but not tight, and the same goes for the chest, which is pretty good considering that's where I'm most physically developed. Through the body, the fit is actually perfect. It's a really good length to tuck in or wear untucked, and it features really nice ribbing along the bottom of the hem to make sure that you can do either of those things. Overall, even though it's a garment that may not have been made for my body type and fit exactly, it is an extremely good fit, and I'm very impressed, and it's a super comfortable garment. Though I would definitely suggest if you're not super tall and super slim, then you might want to size up even twice to get something that's a little less fitted if you're looking at this and thinking, yeah, that's definitely more like a medium than a large. Anyway, another reason it's super comfortable is because of the materials. Segue. Now we get to talk about arguably the best fabric producer in the world, Loro Piana. Loro is an Italian luxury brand that specializes in producing and processing cashmere, vicuna, and extremely fine wool. Although today we are talking about the fabric that they produce, they also offer things like clothing, bags, shoes, accessories for both men and women. They had these really cool looking shorts for swimming in that I was really interested in, but sadly upon closer look they were 480 euros, and it's just like a tiny bit of fabric. So being almost 800 Australian Australian dollars for those kind of little wee shorts, I thought maybe that doesn't seem like the most buy less, buy better decision. But you can immediately see that Loro Piana are an ultimate luxury brand, and their fabrics and their styles and their designs are known to be among some of the best ever. Loro Piana uses a mix of traditional machinery as well as very modern techniques to produce their wool, though exactly what they do seems to be a bit of a trade secret. Continuing in the theme of secrets, the only detail that we know about the wool that's being used in the garment today is that it's slightly thicker than the other finest knitwear that they previously produced. I guess that the yarn does feel a bit thicker than some other knitwear that I own, but it would still definitely qualify as being called extra fine merino. I don't know what microns or gauge or anything like that it is, sadly. What it is though is insanely soft. I don't know how to explain this exactly, but this particular merino feels closer to cashmere than merino. It's got a really nice natural stretch to it. It feels extremely soft against the skin, but not in sort of like an uncomfortable way. I'm not sure how to explain it, but some fabric is just like too soft and that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not sure why. It's also quite breathable fabric. I don't know if I'm comfortable wearing it in warm weather over the sort of low 20s, but as a jersey, as a fabric, it is really, really fantastic fabric and very, very good quality. Definitely speaking to Loro Piana being the best in the world. My other concern with the warm weather is obviously sweat marks being in grey, but I'm willing to give that a try and report back. Sadly, once again, we don't know why it has these qualities, whether it's being hidden by the brand, Permanent Style, or by Loro Piana themselves, but the fabric is absolutely beautiful and it's definitely worth the investment. I've also washed it a couple of times on a cold knitwear cycle at home, and it seems to be holding up very well so far, so I'm very hopeful that it will last for many years to come and isn't too delicate. We can thank the Italian factory Umbria Verde for a lot of the details that come into the knitwear that we're discussing today. The factory has been producing high-end knitwear since around 1959. It's located in the town of Todi in the province of Perugia in Umbria, in Italy. If you're not sure what that is, simply it's sort of in the middle of the side of the knee of the leg that makes up Italy. If that doesn't help, it's close to Orvieto, sort of in between Florence and Rome. Permanent Style, or Simon, worked with the factory to make a bunch of changes to the basic design to create a perfect polo knit that uses Simon's expertise in wearing and reviewing quality menswear to achieve a pretty fantastic outcome. Some of the changes they made, including to the collar, making the collar tighter and reinforcing the placket with a light fusing to move the collar's position up the neck more and make it more suitable under a jacket. The placket is knitted in the same direction as the body of the sweater, making it feel like part of the whole garment itself, which is circled in the image, which should be on screen right now. This process takes an extra step in production and almost no one does it. The collar is also fully fashioned with the body rather than cutting the collar separately and then knitting it on. They did this to make the collar feel like it was more part of the rest of the garment, and it avoids having any hard seams like a traditional sewing on would have done. They experimented with different lengths and angles of the collar to find the right one that wouldn't collapse under a jacket or flop outside it. From my experience so far, mission successful. Another feature is the double cuff, which is a little bit smarter than a regular, in the same way that a French cuff on a shirt is a little bit smarter than a normal cuff. A great part of the cuff is that it actually allows a little bit of adjustment in the sleeve length, which is really nice if you're wearing a watch or if you're not wearing a watch, or if it's really, really cold, you can roll them down and cover your hands up a little bit more if you need it, which is a really handy feature that I find myself using a surprising amount. The shoulder seam is fashioned using a herringbone style, which gives the seam a lot more stretch than a normal seam would, and therefore a lot more comfort. This is indicated by the green line. This feature is a particularly comfortable element for anyone with shoulders like myself, and even though the garment is somewhat slim, I'm sure this is why that it's still very, very comfortable. The final detail that Simon says is probably the easiest detail that he achieved, but it was his favorite change that they made to the garment's construction, are how the buttons are fastened. The two bottom buttons have a long shank, making it very easy to fasten and do up really quickly, but the top one has no shank. So if you do it up all the way, the collar is pulled a bit tighter than these two buttons are doing, and that makes the collar sit really perfectly and flat if you are doing it all the way up. It's quite a nice little aesthetic feature, but also it means that the buttons are very, very well secured and are hopefully going to stay on there for a long time. Overall, these changes make for a garment that, although is a little slim, is extremely comfortable and definitely seems to be made to last a long time. But how do I wear it? So as I said at the start, I've had this for about a year and I've been attempting to wear this in a variety of different styles. I've attempted to wear it a few different ways in a few different contexts and combinations, and this is sort of my favorite way to wear it so far. Because it's grey, I actually find that it's really easy to pair with things, but just like a light shirt, it tends to suit a darker layer over top. So let's get into a bit more specific. The first way I'd wear this is in its most casual setting. You could wear this over a t-shirt or just like traditional knitwear. For your legs, you could wear a pair of shorts if it was warmer, or jeans if it was a little cooler. My white, washed, and indigo pairs actually all work fantastically well. And this outfit that I'm wearing is around 18 to 25-ish degrees outside. It's not too warm, not too cool. This is the perfect fit. If it gets a bit cooler or you need something to dress it up a bit, then I found the best way is to change into chinos, which can help a little bit. And then I like to add some form of outerwear like a military jacket or a work shirt. Both my brown and navy work really well here, as the grey is of course part of the traditional menswear palette. This kind of outfit is very easy to wear for those colder evenings in town when the temperature drops when the sun goes down, and it does actually genuinely get a bit colder. In this setting, you can also wear it with or without the t-shirt underneath if you want here too. If you want something even a bit more, then you'd probably want to wear the knitwear by itself and have a nice sports coat of some kind to put over top. In this kind of combination, I also really like to pair it with a pair of chocolate corduroy that I have, and I've worn that a few times before. It's a very, very comfortable fit because the knitwear against the skin is really soft, the corduroy flexes, and the sports jacket that I have is really, really comfortable and also made out of wool and super soft. So the whole thing just works really well together. Overall, I'm extremely happy with my Dartmoor sweater. It's made out of insanely soft and high quality merino from the one and only Loro Piana, and I can see why people rave about it. The fit is really good, making it really comfortable and nice to wear, whether over something or by itself. Hopefully, I keep learning and thinking of new ways and exciting things to wear this with, but if you have suggestions, please let me know. I'm always open to hearing how other people style their things. It's very interesting and hopefully helps me progress as well. We're going into winter now, so definitely suggestions, please. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Links are in the description as always. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Cheers.